All right, there we go. What is up? I ordered these Seaknight Windrunner 3 reels. I spent about 3 weeks looking at reels every single night. Looking at reels on AliExpress, Temu, Alibaba, whatnot. And I can tell you for sure that these are one of the better reels that you can get in terms of both quality and the money you're going to spend on it, because there are more premium reels for sure. Say for example the brand Tsurinoya makes a lot of good reels. You have Bear King, which makes a lot of good reels, and Piscifun, Cast Kings and whatnot. But to get those absolute premium reels, you still have to spend about somewhere in the line of $70 to $100. And these reels, and I've had Seaknight before, once before. I had the Seaknight Axe when they made that reel. They don't do make that anymore. And I've always had them in mind, and then I found this model and I had to give it a go, because there are a lot of things about it that just tells you that it's gonna be a bit better. For example, the screws for the bail with the aluminum like insert, which makes it more durable. The screw-in handle, like the clicker on it. There's a lot of small signs that just let you know that it's gonna be a better reel than just the standard one. Anyway, I'm not gonna talk too much about that because you get to make up your own mind. But if you trust someone who most likely has ADHD and has been hyper focusing on this, then give it a go. I bought 2, size 3000 from Temu. AliExpress is probably better, but I got a good deal on Temu, so yeah, here we go. I paid $50 for 2 reels. It's kind of insane. And honestly, first impression of this model in particular, I would say that it measures at the same level as my Abu Revo 3 does. I have the Revo 3X model, which I paid, I think it's like $120 for. So $25 instead of $120. All right, enough about that. I'm going to disassemble this reel and we're gonna take a look at every single part, like absolutely everything. And we can start with the drag knob, which is pretty much your standard deal. It doesn't have those small screws here. This is plastic that they've melted to keep the outside together. You have a rubber seal, and instead, if you wanna open this, you have this small clip inside of here. I don't know if you can see that. Same sort of clip that you have holding the brake discs in the spool. So it makes a decent sound, and nothing special about it. I would say it's just what you usually get on any sort of reel up to about $100+. Could it be better? Absolutely. You can have one of those that has this sort of layout, this clicker, and then you can have one of these sort of cylinders in here. You get that on, for example, the Tsurinoya Brown Bear, I think it's called, yeah, and some of the Lure Killer reels, like Lure Killer Flame, Lure Killer, what's it called, Carbon, I think, and Lure Killer Saltist. But those are all at least twice the price of this one, and most reels do come with this. So inside of here there's most likely a small like spring-loaded plastic part that rubs against another plastic part. Is it gonna last forever? No, but it's gonna last a couple of years, honestly, if it's just standard. Here you have the spool. This is the type of clip I was talking about. And inside you have a bearing. I'm not really a fan of those bearings because honestly, I'm not gonna pull fish that it's gonna fatigue this part of the reel anyway. I'm doing freshwater fishing, obviously. But I don't know, sure, it can be there. As long as it's not the super tiny flimsy bullshit bearing that they just add to say that they have 13 bearings. This is actually a bearing. It's a decent size. It'll do the trick. Alright, so you have 3 carbon fiber washers, 3 metal washers, if that's what you call them. They seem to be quite standard. What's good about them is that they're actually kind of thick, so it's not those super flimsy, cheap Temu carbon washers that feel and look more like Teflon. It's actually like it's not gonna wear out too soon. So that's good, and it comes pre-greased, but then again you can tell that the carbon fiber is already starting to like mix into the grease. I'm probably gonna clean them, helping them run smoother for a longer while. And then you have here the main part of it. It has a screw-in handle, which was one of my sort of must-haves because I feel like that should be the standard now. Double threaded like most. Pretty sure you can open this, and I am fairly certain there's gonna be some nylon like washers or whatever you want to call it, cylinders in here, and not bearings. And that actually is part of the reason why I like this reel, because many other brands, especially from China, just put those super small sketchy bearings in here, and it all honestly makes it wobble more. Like this is sturdy, like not much of a gap, like 0.5 millimeter. And also those bearings, they just wear out. They wear out and they get like rusty, and no, I don't need bearings in the handle. Only if I was doing saltwater fishing with a like size 8,000 plus reel, doing like GT fishing, then I would probably like bearings here and there for the extra comforts and wear and tear. But I'm gonna do pike fishing with this, so I would rather have that plastic in here. Let's see if we can open it. I'm gonna grab just a small washer to use and open this with from my spare part bucket that I have. Oh, it just goes around on the bottom. I can feel this one here just turning. Let's see if I can. No, okay. Most likely there's some sort of like thread lock on there, or maybe it's just been sitting for too long and it's kind of stuck. Never mind. As I said, I'm fine with the plastic, and the EVA foam is actually decent. It's a nice grippy one, and it's not too flimsy, not too soft. So it feels just like the one I have on the Abu Revo. Yeah, whatever. So that's the handle, aluminum of course. And then you have the other side where you can switch if you reel with your right hand. Pretty standard here as well, just a small plastic cap with some chrome color. Not much to say. Will the color wear out on this? Sure, it's probably gonna, just like this one, and probably here when you put your rod down, and it's gonna show some of that white color after some wear and tear, but that's okay. That's the same thing with Abu. I even repainted it because it got so ugly. The bail has a nice click to it. Hear that? That I very much enjoy, because many other reels don't have that. It won't make the bail any more durable. So it's not a super important feature, it's just my preference. I like that click. Okay. On the main shaft you have a thicker add-on to which all of these other washers and I think it's a bearing down there, right? Yeah, they're attached to the thicker part. Let's see if we can get these loose. Oh boy, they're on there. Okay, there we go. Two small ones, like plastic, nylon. And you didn't get extra in the box, which is also one of the classier touches, like Abu does as well, so that you can add or remove if it's not spooling the line evenly over the spool. So it's a good sign. Let's see, can we get the rest loose? No, I think we have to pull the pin here. You have a small pin that goes through here. Ooh, my hands are all greasy now. Ooh, that's the small pin. Let's be careful with that. Ah, there, it all came loose. So here's the thicker add-on to the main shaft, with your clicker assembly. Ah, and if you want to remove it, you have, I can't remember what these are called, but a clip, kind of. Okay, so that's a nice touch. And then it looks more like what you would expect here. Main shaft seems to be a bit thicker than other reels I'm used to. I'm guessing this, of course, depends on the size of the reel, but this is a 3000 reel, and it feels a bit thicker than other reels of that size I have. Also, if I didn't say, I truly love the bail design, that it actually is a bit non-symmetrical and bent upwards, which is the way it's supposed to look. I really, really like that. Very thick as well. All right, let's open up the bail, see what we have. And this standard Phillips screw, not a Torx like on the sides. Seems to be an M2, M3 thread. No, M2 probably. Yeah, and you can see they added some thread locker to that blue stuff. Let's see how many bearings we have here now. This is the interesting part. Oof, oh wow. Okay, so a small washer. Let's remember where that one went. It was on the back side here with this bearing. And actually it's one bearing, and then you have this sort of plastic washer system, plastic slash metal. So it's a slide bearing, can you call it that? I'm not sure. Yeah, which is actually what I have on the Abu as well, if I remember correctly. What I do like is that you see they put some effort into making sure that the roller here does not scrape on the sides. So you have something here that's touching the reel on this side, sorry, here. And then you have the bearing here with the small washer to make sure that you're putting pressure on the inner part of the bearing. And as I said, that so that this part, if I can just get focus on the camera, this part isn't scraping on the reel. So that's good. That's a nice setup, actually. I'm impressed. Let's see, does this one twist off? No, it does not. Then we have to remove this Torx here. It is not a common M sort of thread. Instead, it grips into the graphite of the reel, which is also sort of standard. Even the Abu has that. I'm waiting for a reel designer to put like some sort of bearing here and a threaded insert so that the bail will last forever, but this is still pretty decent. And here is the part that I told you about, which sort of sold this reel to me. Aluminum insert into the graphite here so that the screw is catching onto the aluminum, and the aluminum is rubbing against the graphite with some grease, of course, making for a smoother bail and hopefully one that will last longer. So it's not just stainless steel from the screw directly onto the graphite. And this is what Abu does as well, but they don't do the whole outer part here. Oh, sorry. You're not going to be able to see this part in the Abu. They just have this small cylinder here that is threaded, or thread that is put onto this part here. So you're not going to see it, but it's there in the Revo models like this, but without the top part. But this I very much like. It's a good design. And that's just awesome. I love that sound. We're gonna take that apart as well, because I've done this like a gazillion times before, so I'm not worried about not getting it back together. Whoop. Just make sure that doesn't come flying out. Same here, small aluminum insert. This looks pretty standard to me, yeah. What I do like here though is A, this is metal, and B, unlike cheaper reels where you just cut it and then you have a jagged edge here that catches onto the spring, this has actually been grinded down. I don't know if you can see that, but this part isn't sharp, so it's not going to catch the spring, which is very good. Let's open the lower part here. Pretty standard stuff here as well. Same here. This is going to be that sort of white plastic with the chrome color. It's fine. Spring, bail catcher. I'm not really a fan of these because I never reel the bail closed. Feels like it's gonna wear out your reel. I always close it manually anyway, so I don't really care much about these. Now I know it's been balanced together with this, so that weight is calculated here for the rotor. So I'm not going to remove it, but I have on some other reels. It works. All right, let's get into the main part here. Let's remove this screw and this little bracket here that holds the nuts. Pretty standard stuff as well. I can see that he has some screws here as well, which I'm guessing holds, you see the line here, holds this top part onto here. Probably just to keep some water and dirt out. But we're gonna unscrew it anyway just to see, because I promised you I would do this in detail. A lot of Russian guys reviewing these reels. I think that parts from China are much more common, like fishing gear from China is more common in Russia. Okay, there you go. But I can tell you now, just from a first glance experience with many different reels, having disassembled and, you know, had a lot of reels over the years, this is well made. Yeah, right, so that's just that little part. It's interesting. I guess you can remove that if you don't like it. It's not gonna matter. Oh, it's so smooth. Not even 0.5 millimeter of gap here. It's super instant. That doesn't traverse all the way to the handle, because the handle has like 1 millimeter back and forth, maybe, if even 1 millimeter, but like super tiny, which the Revo does as well. So it's just completely normal. But it does tell you that you could add like a small washer inside of here by that bearing to get rid of that gap, if you'd like to. Because the reason that this instant block doesn't go all the way to the handle is because you have a bit of a gap in the tooth, or in the teeth of the gears. So when the handle is like moving back and forth, it's because those teeth are not aligning perfectly, and they are like moving like this when you're moving the handle, in case you didn't know that. So you can add like a super small washer there. Just don't add too much thickness, because then it's gonna be grinding too hard. Let's see, is this reverse threaded or not? Yes, it is. It is reverse threaded, so you unlock it to the right. Not much to say about it. Pretty standard stuff here as well. Has a metal insert here in the middle to keep the graphite safe, and then you have a small metal washer here as well. All looking pretty good. Pretty standard, but pretty good, with all the small sort of details that you'd like on a more high-end reel without actually being high-end money. So that's good. And then you have this cover here, which is also kind of standard, I guess. You get this on the DAM Quick, and the Revo has a actually this whole part screws on instead of having these small screws, but not sure if that works better to keep dirt out. Just a little bit easier getting into. There we go. Come on. I have so much grease on my hands right now. It's hard to, to use tools. There we go. Standard metal top, plastic sides. Here you have the instant anti-reverse mechanism, which looks very standard as well. Some models have a push spring, some models have a pull spring. This one has a pull, which is more common, I think. So be careful when you remove this part, otherwise this little spring is gonna go shooting away and you're never gonna find it again. So let's just push it off the top here. There we go. Then we can slide this out. This looks good. No bearing here, that's interesting. Shielded bearing though, looks to be of pretty decent quality. I like that. Let's see if we can get this one up. A little sort of cover that keeps the bearing in place and protects the insides. It's made of aluminum. Let's get the instant anti-reverse bearing out. Very standard as well. The Revo model does not actually have a spring. It actually has one of these what do you call it, hexagonal instant anti-reverse. The ones you find in like a baitcaster. I don't think that worked out too well though, to be honest, because it does have a gap. It doesn't have that instant catch. And when it's kind of cold outside, actually, in some parts of the reel shrink, sometimes the handle actually goes backwards, and then you get like you get knots on your line and stuff like that. So it's not Abu shape up, honestly. I would rather have that small spring. Ooh, I see a bearing down here, which is probably gonna catch onto here. That's pretty cool. And that's where that bearing was. All right, let's remove the side plates. Ah, you can already see the slide stabilizer here. There. So that's good to know. Let's see, it's gonna be 4 screws, which is quite normal. You don't need to take off the back. Many reels have like a small plastic back plates that you need to remove to get to one of the screws. This one does not, which is honestly quite appreciated. Those plastic back plates tend to get very damaged and sometimes even crack by that screw hole, so I don't like those. They feel cheap. This one does not. All right, last one. It's on there. Sorry, I'm gonna have to do it like this. There we go. Ooh, that's looking very nice. Look at that. Quite a nice shape to it, and you can see like very, very tiny CNC marks, so it's, well, that's well done. Here you have a small metal washer, and this is where I meant that you can add like a super thin one to help with the gap in the handle. This one is pretty thick, so it's not like some reels have like 3 of different super thin sizes that add here, which to me just tells me that they don't CNC it well enough to calculate one washer, but instead they add more and more of those super tiny slim ones. I don't like that. They just break. When you open the reel and you pull those off, they just bend in your hands because they're so thin. Yeah. Look at this bearing. It's a nice bearing, honestly. It looks very high quality. That's good. The last thing you want to see there is an unshielded bearing. See, can we remove this plastic part? Yes, we can. Look at this. So that's to help protect the graphite, and this takes all the hits instead. Usually it's a larger sort of back plate that covers the entire back, but for this one it's just a slim one, which works pretty well. Let's see if we can get the main gear off. Okay, we're probably gonna have to undo this one. No, we can't. We have to pull the main gear off first. Jaha, men gör det där bara. Jag sitter bara och gör en liten video. Oop. Nej. Main stabilizer rod in here. That's nice. It's nice to see that they have that one. No, I mean the Abu does. It does have 2. Many of the higher end reels at least have 1, and so does this. Quite a large main gear, and the ratio is still just 5.2 to 1. That's kind of interesting. Oh, I got this one out. Pretty standard stuff as well. Although, as I said, with the stabilizer rod, which is always a nice touch, because the cheaper ones don't. They just have some sort of plate in here that sort of latches onto the top of this, and it's gonna wear out. All right, main gear, pretty large main gear, honestly. Another bearing, of course, but a smaller size, which is normal. And ooh, look, that little bearing is coming loose. It's good. I like that touch. And it does have a groove or a sort of slot to fit into here. That's nice. But now to the main concern I've had. Does the slider cog, or the gear here, does it have a bearing here? Because I really like that. Reels that don't have a bearing in there, I mean, they feel just as smooth. It's not that, but it's gonna wear out. It's gonna wear out after some time. Oh no, it does not. I don't think it does have a bearing. Oh, come on. Come loose. Oh, it does. Woohoo! I spoke too early. Ta-da! Nice. Very nice, actually. And a slot in here that the bearing fits into. So as I said, like reels that don't have this, it's not that they feel worse in any way. They reel just as smoothly as many of these reels. It's just that having an aluminum or stainless steel or whatever it is gear like constantly moving like this onto the graphite slowly wears out, and after say a year or 2, that translates into this not fitting perfectly. So this cog can wiggle a little bit, and that makes this part wiggle a bit, right? Which makes the spool wiggle a bit up and down, and it's not gonna spool the line as well as it did when it was new. So we're gonna get some like a sort of what do you call it, concave, convex shape to the line as it spools up on the spool. It's hard to explain, but the spool shouldn't be able to move up and down too much, just tiny. It's normal, but not much. So this is good, and I mean, this is like standard silicone sort of grease they have in here, and I'm honestly gonna replace that with my own grease, which I think is better. I'm going to put some oil on all the bearings. I'm going to just generally clean it up, knowing for sure that I've done my maintenance in my way. But as I said, like for this kind of money, it's an absolutely fantastic reel. It feels very nice, it's very smooth, it has all the things you would like and all the small details from a higher end reel. And I would say that if I got to choose now again between one of these in a size 2000 over my Abu, which is a size 2000, the Abu Revo 3, I would choose this. I would choose the Windrunner 3 every time. It's just, it has all the things the Abu has, but it's more well thought out in some of the small details. Even the bail feels sturdier and nicer than the Abu does. So yeah, that's Seaknight. Give them a look. They have other reels as well. Some of them don't have the screw-in handle. I'm not sure how that translates to how comfortable it is and how much of a gap you get in the handle. But if I know Seaknight right, it's probably a good reel. They have a lot of good stuff. So check them out on AliExpress or Temu. And if you're considering getting a new reel, give the Windrunner 3 a try. Comes in this nice bag as well. Look at it. It's quite pleasing on the eyes, I'd say. Oh, very, very smooth. And one thing too that I didn't mention is that many reels have like a big gap here. Like you can wiggle this part back and forth a lot because they want it to be smooth like this part. They don't want to push those graphite parts too hard into each other. And I get it. That's what you do engineering wise when you don't want to put a bearing or anything more complicated here. But that also makes the reel feel a bit like flimsy, like this. And that, honestly, I have that problem with the Abu Revo. It feels a bit flimsy like this. It's a huge gap. I mean, of course, this one has a little gap. You can see that I can move it just a tiny bit. But honestly, better than the Abu. Better. And better than many other reels I've had that have cost a lot more than this one. So, yeah. Seaknight, thank you. You know what you're doing. Keep making good stuff and I'll keep buying it. Unless you want to sponsor me. Alright, that's it. 38 minutes. 39. Holy shit. Okay. Bye.